thank you everyone for joining us here at Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. We are a 501c organization that focuses on services and support for families here in North Carolina, and that includes all 100 counties. We are presenting to you today the Care Partners Forum, which is a new initiative that we have started here at North Carolina, and we are focused on caring for the caregiver today. We'll be talking about this topic throughout the entire year, just focusing on tips and strategies on helping caregivers to take care of themselves and providing resources as well as we have this conversation. Just know that we are all COVID protected here. Today we've had our shots and boosters and all those kinds of things, so we feel very comfortable with presenting this. Really, we feel comfortable with being within the distance of each other and presenting what we're presenting today. So let's get started. My name is Rosalind Pugh Scott. I am the Dementia Navigator here at Dementia Alliance, and we have beside me here Ms. Melanie Bunn. Woo! She is our dementia training consultant, and of course my partner in crime, Ms. Dee Dee Harris, who is our Family Services Director. So welcome, everyone. So as I was saying, caring for the caregiver, how does it fit and why is it important? So, guys, you want to kind of get us started? Whoever, want to talk about that?
Well, I think it does make a difference. I mean, everything from when we used to be able to fly. They always say put your mask on, your not your mask, but your oxygen mask on before you go to help your other person, because there's a saying, you can't give away something you don't have.
Ooh,
so if what we want is for people to be able to take care of and care with people living with dementia, if they're an empty vessel,
then how are they going to care for the person
Right.
they're caring
they
for?
don't have anything to
Right.
give.
Yeah.
And because they're in that midst of caregiving, when we're doing that, they're so focused on the person that they're caring for that it's so easy, to forget themselves. And you're right, they cannot give what they don't have, but that means it's extra effort to make sure that you are doing it.
Ooh, that's very good.
You really have to make the effort to make sure you're caring for yourself.
So then we have care partners who aren't managing I'm a nurse, so there's nursing things always come through for me.
Yeah.
But we have care partners who aren't managing their diabetes.
Right.
And they aren't managing their high blood pressure.
Right.
And they're not managing their screenings.
Yeah.
And so they're getting sick and dying before the person living with dementia is. And it comes back to that, where do you put your own health and your own well-being in that
every day.
perspective?
Yeah.
In the everyday. That's such an important word.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
every day.
Every day. I know in my experience in working with caregivers, one of the things that I say to them is I try to get them to look at it from a holistic perspective. Taking care of yourself, taking care of the person that you're caring for, but also managing those other outside influences as well. I think that most definitely plays a part in the caregiver's health, emotionally and mentally, and being able to, I think when you are taking care of your emotions and your mental stability, then maybe the physical part won't be as I don't know if the word is challenging, when you're talking about caring for yourself. I don't know. That's kind of, how I envision that caring for your caregivers care for themselves, just a holistic perspective of that as well.
So that's interesting. So what you said, Rosalind, is that if we meet people's emotional and spiritual and cognitive, mental kind of needs, then their ability to take care of their physical beings will kind of follow that. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it may not always be the case, but that's just kind of, I have that military thing, like if A equals B and, that kind of thing. So, but, so that's how I envision that when I am engaging with caregivers,
Well, and how many times have you talked to a caregiver and they're telling me about all the doctor's appointments for their loved ones and how they're making sure they're being treated for all their physical ailments, but their depression. But then you back up and ask them, so when's the last time you had a physical? Even just something as simple as your routine physicals. and that's been by the way, so it's been 2 or 3 years, and
Yeah.
a lot of them are dealing with depression, but they're not even taking that time to work on that part of it,
Right.
as well as not being able to go to church to meet your spiritual. You're right, it's very holistic.
No, you go.
I was talking to a young woman, and she said, I wake up in the morning and I have to decide who's not going to get my best today.
Wow.
Is it my mother who's not going to get my best? Is it my spouse who's not going to get my best? Is it my children who aren't going to get my best? And I thought, she didn't even make the list.
Wow. Wow. I didn't.
Yeah, she didn't.
She's wow. That's interesting. It's interesting to think about it like that.
And I think that's probably pretty common,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
90% of the time.
When you
I
try-
go say
yeah.
95% of the time. That it's
They're
very
not thinking
common.
about that.
But the why becomes because you can't keep giving if you're not filling back up.
Correct.
And
That's part of my holistic outlook. If you are not filling yourself and managing those other things like your health and how other relationships impact you as you're doing the caregiving, then you won't be able to give out something that you don't. Like you said, you can't give something that you don't have. And so, in a lot of instances, you have family dynamics that play a part into what you decide or how you do or what you do when you're caring for a loved one. I know a situation that I'm working with another person with now. It's like the husband is the caregiver, but he's depending on the oldest son to help him make the decisions. But him and the oldest son are not on the same page about what he needs. And I was like, that's very interesting that he's depending on someone else to help him work out what he needs and care for his wife, but then they don't agree on what that is. And I think that's very important because once again, it's the holistic perspective is that emotional and mental, part that plays that affects how you caregive as well.
So what you're kind of saying is that taking care of your relationships is part of self-care. Taking care of having those conversations and having shared values and shared expectations. So it's not just, self-care isn't just about taking care of myself, it's taking care of my relationships.
Yeah, because they impact how you care for the person you're caring for. And this gentleman is a prime example because the person that they're working with is saying, okay, this is what I can give you. And he's like, well, I need more than that. But the son, who he's allowing to make the decisions, is going, no, you don't need, we're not doing that. You only need this service, 1 hour. And he doesn't even live in the home. You need this service 1 hour a day as opposed to what you think you need it. And he has control of the financial, part of their relationship as well. So that's, to me, can be stressful, and it can also determine how he cares for his wife in that. You know what I mean? So I look at, like I said, for me, it's like it's not just about your health, but it's about your mental and emotional stability as well, and encompass all of that.
But I think it's interesting you're talking about relationships because how many of our calls or in support group that we hear that a lot of there's stress just in the caregiving, but the other stress is sometimes dealing with their siblings. And so that's where that relationship part comes too, that sometimes that's an added stressor. So trying to figure out how to work in those relationships, like you said. I think the key thing is identifying what, which we're talking about caregiver stress, but each of us is different and how we deal with it. So what is those things that's going to help us in that? So it's very individualized.
Yeah.
And so for Dee Dee, you brought up that spiritual piece of getting that kind of support and the relationships piece as well as kind of a really important piece of that, and the communication and building those bonding, those relationships. And we're also kind of talking around the piece of expectations.
Ooh, yeah.
Of what do you expect from yourself? What do you expect from others? And when people aren't doing
what you think they should be doing or what you expect them to do, that's huge in the sibling arena. When you have 5 or 6 siblings and, she's not helping, and she shouldn't, I'm the baby and she's the, so that kind of thing. Yeah, I see a lot of that as well.
And so then it becomes building, you can let that really build up a lot. I mean, that can take a lot of energy.
Mhm.
You know, resentment.
Yeah.
I can tell you, resentment and holding grudges can take
Yes.
a lot of energy.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caregivers spend, and I've had several situations where caregivers they spend so much time on focusing on what someone is not doing as opposed to what someone can do. A while back, and I know I've told this story millions of times, when I was working at another organization, we had a major conference and a gentleman came in, and he had 4 siblings, an extended family, but they were very engaged in the care of his mother. And when I say engaged, everyone had a part. Like, he had an uncle, I believe he said, that, he was homeless, lived on the street or whatever, but his only responsibility was to come in and watch stories with his sister. Like, that was it. He wasn't to fix no food, he wasn't to do any medication. Just that small thing was very helpful to the primary caregiver, which was the sister. And so in my engagement or, in conversation with caregivers, that's the thing that I remember that so vividly that I say to them, whatever a family member is able to do, be okay with that. You may want them to help you pay for, or, whatever, but that may not be something that they're capable of doing. So whatever they're able to bring to the table, be okay with that, because I promise you is going to help you as you do this, this journey, this thing every day that is so challenging. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, like I said, everybody's gifted differently. And there's no one that's necessarily better than the other, because it all fits together. But going back to kind of what we said earlier, but for maybe somebody who doesn't have that person who steps up, really trying to, and I know you guys do it, I do it all the time, and it's hard to do, but really trying to help the caregiver to not focus and let go a little bit of let go of those expectations. That's hard. I mean, it's hard for me.
Because it brings out all, particularly with family, and particularly with siblings, it brings out all of that, Mom always loved you best, I always did. It brings back all of those family dynamics and things as well. And it kind of, and so one of the strategies that I teach families, I teach all kinds of care partners, is tell me more. Tell me more. So my sister says, I'm really busy and I can't help, and I say, so tell me more about what, and it gives me a chance to kind of do a pullback and go, you lazy, but not to say that. And my sister's wonderful, but it gives a chance to kind of do that pullback and say, so tell me more. So your life is really complicated. Tell me more about what do you think you might be able to do? That's going back to what you were saying. Focusing on that positive.
Yes.
I understand life is really complicated. What do you think you might be able to do occasionally or some? And I used to do this in a lot of situations. When do you think you could call Mom twice a year? And when you started that, you started that level, then, well, I can do more than that. It's like, yay!
So you started with the minimum amount, and they'd be like, oh, they almost like they're offended because you said twice a year.
Because I'm not expecting you to move in. Let's just start with what's realistic.
What you can do. Yeah. That's a great strategy. For me, in engaging with caregivers, that, what I normally say, I don't know if this is the right thing to say, but I try to get them to, like Dee Dee was saying, not focus so much on, family members who can't, support you in the way that you need to be supported. You can ask, and like what you were saying, and even with 2 times, calling Mom 2 times a year, she may say, well, I can't do that. Then that's okay. Then that's a resource or an individual that won't probably be able to help you in this journey. So you put that on the back burner and you go to someone else, or you find a resource that can, because that's a lot to, with the journey that they're on, that's wasted energy, like you were saying, to be like, oh, and I, and she's the oldest and I don't understand, and X, Y, Z, and all these things that he or she has done, and that's just wasted energy when you can be focused on what resources are available. How am I going to put these things into place for Mom, Dad, husband, wife, or whoever? And my famous phrase is keep it moving. Keep it moving, because that's the thing that you need to do as you're going down this road.
And going back to the beginning of the topic of the caregiver, caring for the caregiver, a lot of times this is heightened because they are tired, and they haven't done self-care.
Right.
And so now, when that sibling or somebody, so going back to trying to not only tell them to let it go, which is, but then focusing again back on that, if you're doing self-care, I think you can handle things a little bit better. It doesn't mean it goes away by any means.
So Dee Dee, what do you mean when you say self-care? What does that mean? What kind of things are part of self-care?
So I think it's different for different family members. Some people, self-care may be that 90-minute massage, which I'm still trying to get into my calendar. I'm just saying there could be that. Mm-hmm. But we know with caregiving, it's limited. So it has to be what brings you energy, what brings you joy.
Right.
Okay, so it could be a walk. It may be that you can't leave your house area. You can't go walk at the park, but maybe it's a walk around your house. Right. But just to get outside. Different things.
With some earbuds so you can listen to some music.
Absolutely. So, it's so different, but that's the beauty of it, is that everybody can find something to do.
Yeah.
And I think that was a beautiful way of defining it, because I was thinking more, physical, emotional, cognitive, spiritual, social, holistic, and relationship. And what you said was, it's something that brings you energy. Yeah. So it's something that builds you up. So self-care is whatever you do as a human being that re-energizes you, that kind of builds you up. So what are some of the things that y'all, Dee Dee's not going to get a 90-minute massage today. Right. I'm not going to get my month-long cruise.
I'm a very, I don't know if this is correct, I'm a simple person. So I like to sit in my chair and, sometimes I'll read my daily devotional, or sometimes I will just sit in the chair and look out the window, point blank period. I don't do anything. I like peace and quiet. When my daughter's at school and my husband is not at home, and I'm working from home and I get my 30-minute lunch, sometimes I just sit there. So it could be something as simple as just getting to yourself, and you can go out on the porch, if you have one, or go in a room and close the door and just sit for a minute and just think to yourself. You know what I mean? So that's just me. I would like to go on a cruise, but I don't know if I want to at this point in time. And I've had massages, and because my body is so tense, when I come out, I'm like, oh gosh, that was awful. So, but like you said, it's different from person to person. So,
Yeah, and, I don't do massages very often. I have one a year. But, I think I'm kind of like you, the quietness of devotions and things like that. But, if anybody knows me at all, I'm an extrovert too. So, so it might be that I need to, if I'm a caregiver and I need that, pick up the phone call, talk to somebody. If I can get a hug, then we are so much
good.
better off. So
that's good. I can do another 10 minutes.
So it's little things like that as well. But I love music. Music probably is like the key thing, even when I'm stressed, when I'm anything. If I can have those earbuds in, and it can pump me up, and that's why music and memory is so important. But seriously, What about you?
For me, it's moving. Going for a walk, or even here, this is my Christmas present, and I'm fiddling with them because I'm in constant perpetual motion. So for me, it's getting that physical release of moving around, doing something, being outside, being near water.
I love that. I love that.
And so what I love that y'all both kind of brought out is this is what I might like, and this is what is realistic that I can fit into my life. And so if you are the care partner and the person living with dementia is in your home, you may not be able to, when my son was a newborn, it's like just my mother would come over so I could take a shower. So just having somebody be there so I could take a shower was like the hugest self-care thing. And you may not be able to go and sit for your 30 minutes lunch. So how do you find what you can do? And so taking it from what do you want, what do you long for? What would you, if the life was different, life is not different. So in this situation, what can you do in this moment to maybe bring your energy up, or maybe bring your energy down? I mean, maybe that's the other thing that self-care can help us do, is kind of
bring it in. Yeah, because it's like, like I said, I'm not only my military background, but just how my grandmother raised me. I'm like this. I have this regimen, and I've softened up over the years. So, I'm just trying to.
We're trying. No, she's
I'm trying to relax and not be so regimented, and so it has to be in a certain order. Like even doing this, we were talking about this, and I, even though talking back and forth with Dee Dee, I still have to tell myself, this is not regimen. This is, us sharing with caregivers. This is us providing information, and it doesn't have to be boom, boom, boom. It doesn't have to be an agenda. And so me just getting myself to that place is of course has been a long journey. But with caregivers, when I'm engaging with them, I hear their stories. I hear what they tell me, and based on what they tell me, then I can say, okay, well, you may have this time of day. You can take 5 minutes to do X, Y, Z, or whatever it is that makes them feel good. So knowing when Diddy and I know you too, you're having this conversation and listening to their stories, that also can help us coach or guide them to choosing those moments, because the moments are there sometimes, but they don't always realize it, because like you're saying, they're doing this all day, they're just running around and they're so high energy. So helping them based on their stories to kind of find or to use that time that's already there. So
because that time may be that they can do that might be at 10:30 at night after the caregiver, the person they're caring for, has already went to bed. I mean, seriously, they have to figure out how to work it in. It's hard. It is. And, we all know that the last year has been even harder because there's been less of a break, because there's been less respite breaks because of COVID. So it's been a real challenge, and caregivers are exhausted.
They are.
And it's finding the little things, like, when I came in this morning, I'd had, a cup of coffee. And Dee Dee fixed me this, and what's the flavor?
Hazelnut.
It's hazelnut coffee. And my options in this moment are to just suck it down like a drug, which, yes. But also to find that time to really, even though we're doing this, to really appreciate that it smells so wonderful.
It does.
And it tastes so wonderful.
Okay.
And so really being present with the coffee and really be intentional.
I love that word, intentional.
So it's not just that yes, my preference would be to be drinking this beautiful cup of coffee on a deck looking out over the ocean. And that's my other big word for this year is I can sit here now with 2 friends and colleagues and enjoy the smell of the coffee and the taste, but only if I let myself be intentional and aware of it.
I love that word.
And so if I wait to the perfect moment when I'm sitting on the balcony drinking the coffee in front of the ocean, those moments are few and far between. I can't exist with those moments. I need more than that. And so finding that being present and intentional helps me enjoy this cup of coffee right here today.
Thank you, because I'm going to steal that.
You're going to steal that?
I'm going to steal that word.
Ooh, yay.
Intentional, and I'm going to add a word to it, purposeful. Intentional and purposeful.
And then
I don't want to be purposeful. That's you. That's
and I'm going to say this for me. And again, I know this is hard for care. My word for the year is gratitude. It's kind of the same thing, because so I know that caregivers, man, I know it's hard. I mean, my heart breaks for every caregiver I talk to.
Right.
But we have to get to a point to find, like you said, the positives in the things. There's something you can find. It's not always easy, but if you can do that, it changes everything.
Yeah.
Today I came in and said, I'm going to be grateful for an opportunity to try something new, And so to really, seriously, the opportunity to do something to help care. So I think all of these words, hopefully somebody, some caregivers can use that to help make their life better.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, that word intentional. And I think that's hard because, like, you were saying before, when you're so busy, used to your routine, you have to purposefully stop and think about what you're doing. And it's okay if you do that. But, initially caregivers may not, if they do stop, they may not know what to do with that time. You know what I mean? Because they've been so in a routine for a long time. They may not know what their thing is, and they may have to figure out what their thing is. You know what I mean?
Right,
as
definitely.
they're, going along in their journey, so.
And that kind of goes along with one of the things I think is often a really hard thing for care partners to do, which is to receive help. And so, because sometimes it truly is, in the short run, easier to do it myself than it is to have someone help. And so what I need for self-care is some time away, but it's so hard to set it up, to find that. It feels like it's not really getting me what I need. And that's another time when I encourage family care partners, and I encourage those of us who are supporting care partners to find a place to say, tell me more. So you're uncomfortable having people coming into your house. Tell me more. Tell me more about what your concerns are. Tell me more about what you've tried in the past. Tell me more. And my Ted Lasso, such a big Ted Lasso person. One of the things he says, be curious, not judgmental.
I saw that.
Yeah, and so that's kind of, that being curious, not, we've offered you 5 caregivers. Why won't you take advantage of our services? We've offered to pay. We've offered to have them come. Tell me more about what's your reservation. Tell me more about what your thoughts are. What's going on? What are you feeling?
Wow. Thank you for helping me. If I can confess, because of my personality, I don't know if the word would be judgmental, but I tend to say, in my mind, this, and this, and why haven't you this? And using that word, tell me more, or explain to me, more about what's going on.
Help me understand.
Yeah, help me understand would be something that I'm most definitely going to work harder at incorporating in my conversations with caregivers. So I think that's very good. I had not seen it from that perspective. I think, in our journey, well, I won't speak for anybody else, I'll speak for Rosalind. In my journey to help caregivers, like I said, I'm so regimented. I want to help you. I've given you 50 resources. You have not taken advantage of that, but yet you're still struggling with the same caregiving issues that you were at the beginning. So I'm so desperate for caregivers to not be stressed, because I have had caregivers pass away, on my watch. And so I'm trying to keep myself from being stressed. I need for you to do this because this is very important to your well-being, and you caring for yourself is all part of that. So thank you for that. I wrote it down, and I know I've heard you said it before, but when you use it in the context that you just used it in, it just made me take a look at myself, as a professional caregiver, and coaching and teaching caregivers. So yeah, I think that's important.
I think too, we got to remind, and we try to do this from the very beginning, to remind caregivers that this is not a solo event, that they have to have their tribe or their village, that it takes a village to do this. And you talk about doing it themselves and everything, and I think identifying, not only letting them know that up front, but then sometimes it's literally reminding them. I know we've done sometimes a list of asking them to just come up with a task. It doesn't have to be the caregiving task.
Right.
But it could be the task to help the caregiver to get a break by going to CVS and picking up their medications today, instead of the caregiver having to also pack the person up, take them to CVS and stuff. Yeah. So again, it's us helping them identify some things that can be helpful,
Right.
because they don't like to ask for help.
Yeah.
They've, a lot of them. I'm
Right.
not saying all of them, but a
Right,
lot of them don't
right,
like to
right,
ask for help.
Mhm.
But sometimes if they have something that's not going to really put somebody out,
Yeah.
and people want to help. A lot of people really want to help. They don't know what to do. So that caregiver can actually help reward them by giving them just something little to do, and it benefits both.
Yeah, very good.
And that might also work for some of the people who are watching who don't live in the same community with the person they're supporting.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe what I can do, if Rosalind is my sister and she's taking care of our mom, and I live in California, maybe what I can do is set up delivery of some of the things, so then you don't have to go get
Right.
these staple kinds of things. Or maybe what I can do is have make some of the, I can manage the virtual part of doctor's visits.
Appointments, yeah.
So I can set things up. I can manage that virtual, or maybe I can manage some of the financial pieces from a distance.
Right.
And maybe I can say, it's finding a way to offer to help that doesn't sound like I think you're incompetent.
Exactly.
And so what I might say is I might call Dee Dee and say, Dee Dee, I'm running out to CVS, and I hate to just go and pick up one thing.
Right.
What can I, what can I grab for you while I'm out?
Yeah.
So then it's not I'm making another trip. It's
Right.
it's finding those ways. A lot of it's all about framing.
Oh, okay.
It's about how.
True. I mean, we've kind of already talked about earlier, even
Yeah.
with the siblings. It is how you frame it.
Yeah. How you present it in a way that don't make them feel, or is that a double negative? So that they don't feel, you're not offending them, and they don't feel like, you're coming at them like they're not helping or whatever. So presentation of information.
Because there's this piece of me, I think for a lot of people as well, that of independence is a strong value. And so the example I give is I'm short.
You are?
I am. I'm really short. And so when thinking back when I'm longing to travel, when I would put my suitcase up in the overhead bin, I have a really small suitcase, so I can stick it up there, and then it immediately slides back.
Oh,
and so then when I go to get it
you can't
out,
reach
I
it.
can't. I physically cannot.
Reach it. Yeah.
Reality is, I just can't reach it without standing on the chair. And people don't like it when you stand on the seat. And so somebody behind me will inevitably, some kind person who wants to get off the plane desperately, will inevitably say, let me help you. And I will say, oh, thank you, that's so helpful, you're so kind. And inside I'm stamping my foot and going, me do, I can do it, just leave me alone, I got it. And so there's this whole finding, a soft spirit to be able to accept help, to be able to realize, and so offering that help in a way that is, I'll just get it for you. It's kind of,
Yeah, I'm glad you said it, because even for even in here, like yesterday, I am swamped with.
I say it over
and Rosalind's
over
like,
and
so
over.
what can I help you with?
All day long.
And there's a part, and it's not that I don't. Part of it's just figuring out what to give, but the other part is you don't want to feel incompetent. You want to feel like, man, why can't I do it? So I get what you're saying, and there's nothing wrong with me not having the ability to do it all. So the same thing. So to relinquish something. Hey, I've tried. I've done really well. But seriously, I mean, we have to think about what we kind of deal with some of the same things as our caregivers do.
Yeah, the faith community I grew up in, we talked a lot about stepping on your toes. And you can't see, but there are bruises on all of the toes around this table because we're talking about self-care and us as care partners and it's not that we've got this right. I mean, it's any one of us. This is all. We should go back and listen to ourselves.
Yeah.
And take ourselves.
See, I'm gonna go have a massage now.
Not till we're finished.
No, but you're right.
Yeah.
And I've actually had. It's interesting. I had a lady that had dementia that I worked with in a support group one time. And, we would talk about them all the time. And she would look at some of us leading the support group. She says, now what are you girls doing for yourself because you're our care partners too.
Yeah.
So it's true. I mean, all of us have to find ways to do this.
Yeah.
So we yeah.
Now, there's one question we've been avoiding.
What is it?
And it's the question I kind of mentioned to Dee Dee and Rosalind, something I've been doing some thinking about, and I kind of, so I've given them some time to think about this.
Have you though?
Really?
Have you though?
And it's the difference between self-care and being selfish. So, you know, because those are, I think that is, because we've kind of identified, you know, that self-care is important, that it's physical, you know, eating right, getting enough exercise, getting enough sleep, it's emotional, you know, so having those supportive people or the way you deal with your emotions is spiritual, you know, kind of lifting yourself up, kind of finding the way to make your life have meaning. It's social, making those connections with people. It's all of those things, and it's still, we're not jumping on the bandwagon. And I think, I wonder if, I'm curious about, I wonder if part of that is that there's still this sense of taking care of myself takes away from what I should be, could be, would be doing as a care partner, and that at some level it is selfish for me to take care of myself. So I'm pondering and thinking of this and just curious what
How
comes
many
to
hours do
your
we
mind.
have?
Did you go? I don't know. Oh,
No.
wow. Did you want to speak?
Well, no, I know she mentioned it earlier, but I hadn't had time to really think about it. You know, I don't know, because, like, you know, I hear caregivers, I even heard yesterday in support group, like, a lady saying, you know, I need to bring my mother back home. You know, like I said, she feels almost selfish that she's going to take a trip and, you know, her mom's in a facility. And, you know, to me, I don't even know how to say it. I mean, if we are at a point where we are denying our person what they deserve, okay? If we've got somebody we're responsible for, and I don't know if this is even hitting it, okay?
There isn't a right or a
Okay.
wrong.
But if I have somebody I'm responsible for, and I'm doing pleasurable things for me that could be harmful or bring, you know, not providing them with what they need, that would be, to me, selfish. So if I left my loved one at home unattended, not fed and everything, so that I go get them. I know this is really far out there, but I'm saying, to me, that is if I'm more concerned about me than them, I think you can have an equal thing of a balance of caring about the person and yourself. But I think if it gets to where you're just thinking about your needs and not that person's, that's where it becomes an issue.
So that idea of something you do is going to harm or neglect or take away from something.
Yeah.
What she said.
I'll drink to that.
Because honestly, I was sitting here and I thought of a situation that I had encountered recently with a caregiver, and it was borderline, you know, based on what the caregiver was expressing to me. It was borderline. They were, you know, worried about the house and this kind of thing, but not really focusing on, you know, the care for her loved one. I want my loved one to do X, Y, Z, and I'm going to put these things in place because I need for them to do this so that I can, it was all around my home and, you know, where they're going to live and what they're going to do. So I think, you know, you can, yours was like, you know, very obvious, but then you have those times when you can hear that, because we don't, you know, see caregivers, you could hear that in the conversation, that borderline of selfishness. How you manage that is probably really complicated and hard to kind of know, I would think. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, caregivers call us wanting resources or information or, you know, coaching or whatever. And so when you have a situation that's borderline like that, it's kind of hard to, how do you present to them in a way, I don't know, would we need to acknowledge that, you know? That's a good conversation. I mean, that's a good question. you know.
I don't know. You know, I
Did I get off track? Did I go way left?
No, it's fine.
No.
I mean, it's an important conversation because
I must be really stressed because I'm about to strike.
Because I do think it gets really complicated. That you know, there are some people who think that anything from if I leave the person that I'm being selfish, to people who think. So there's a whole range there. I mean, there's a whole
I think I got a little
range
bit
of
out of it.
what
But-
that might be.
But you know, if I'm leaving my loved one at home and I'm hating to leave them, but I have to go to my job, that to me is not selfish. That's just trying to manage life.
Right,
but if
right.
I'm leaving, and again, they deserve to have the date, or they deserve a lot of other things. But if they're doing that, I don't know. It's complicated.
It's complicated.
Because I think we almost kind of tend to have a hierarchy of the person who is being cared for in some ways their needs become more important than
Yeah, you're right.
the needs of the care partner. And so I want to really acknowledge that and say, you know, there is this we as supporting caregivers, we value the care partner.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
we celebrate the care partner, and we identify that, you know, it's not or they're valuable, it's and they're valuable.
Yeah.
And so they are valuable not just because if they don't take care of themselves, they can't take care of or care with the person living with dementia. Self-care is important for them because they are a precious, valuable human being.
Yeah.
And so as a precious, valuable human being, you deserve joy. You deserve intimacy. You deserve friendship. So we sometimes, and I think this is where it gets really, really complicated with dementia, because if someone has a diagnosis that is really short, you know, the person, you know, there's a diagnosis, and, you know, we've got 3 months, and we can all drop our jobs, drop our relationships, and dive in and do this care for 3 months.
Right.
But you can't drop your spouse and drop your job for 12 years.
Right.
And expect them to be there, and you can't drop yourself
Right.
Yeah.
for 10 years and expect yourself to still be there. And so there's this idea that taking care of yourself is a human right. Maybe,
Yeah.
you know, that it's I don't know.
I think society, you know, we are required. I think it's a requirement that we are taking care of ourselves. If you watch animals, they take care of themselves, and then they take care of their babies at a pride or, you know, whatever grouping they're called. So I think we are required. I think it's a requirement. It's a karma of the earth, of the world, that we take care of ourselves.
It's a very primitive, basic need.
Yeah, you know,
So,
hierarchy of needs.
Going back to your question to us, where would you see it coming into being selfish then?
Yeah, and like I said, I've really been thinking about it, and I think that often people are too hard on themselves. So I think the majority of the people that I spend time with, now, you know, they're sociopaths. who
That's a whole nother group.
Yeah, that's a whole nother group. But most of the care partners I work with aren't sociopaths.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most of what I see is more on the side of self-neglect, because I think anything I do for anything I do for myself takes away from my person.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's accurate. I don't think self-neglect is good for that precious human being who's the care partner.
Most
You know,
definitely.
I don't think it's good for that precious human being who's a self-partner. I want to say that like 5 times, because we always keep talking about, you know, how important, and they are, you know, putting that focus and
Yeah.
that precious human being who's the care partner.
Yeah.
You know, providing that support to them, and that's important for the person living with dementia as well. And so I wanna see if there are maybe some ways to overlap them. So some ways to overlap how the care partner self-care can overlap with the self-care for the person living with dementia.
We'll wait for that.
So what I'm thinking about is maybe, I know that the person I'm in partnership with needs music,
Okay.
Yeah.
and I need time alone.
Okay.
So maybe what I can do is, I know that Dee Dee, as the person I'm caring for, if she's got music,
I'm happy.
it's meeting her need,
Right.
and it gives me a chance to kind of
Care for yourself,
have
whatever that
a
looks
moment
like.
to take some
Yeah.
deep breaths for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah,
So
whatever that
thinking
looks
about, what do you think, is that something?
Yeah, I get it now. I get what you're saying. Yeah, so that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like what we're covering here, this whole conversation, caring for the caregiver. If you have provided something for your loved one to, entertain them, whatever that may be, and at the same time, this will allow you to do whatever it is that you do in your moment, or massage, cruise, whatever, leave, walk around the house, jump in the pool, whatever. It'll allow you to have that time. And that's, it goes back to what we were talking about, very early in the conversation, just being able to manage not just your relationships, but the time, recognizing that when your loved one is engaged with something that is good for them, that you can use that time for yourself as well. So, yeah, that makes sense to me.
No, that makes complete sense. And actually, we tell a lot of families about the music, because we do know that music, and we're very involved with that here. And it could be one of where the person with dementia is doing their music, and the care partner is doing something else, or it could be that both of them, music is a way, and so dancing together might be what is working best for them.
Yeah.
But Melanie, I'm so thankful you kept saying about the care partner, because I think we've all said it, and I know I say it in support group a lot, and even with families, is we care about the people that are diagnosed with dementia. We do. But our premises, because most of the time the care partners are doing everything they can to take care of them. So a lot of my focus and our focus is on those care partners of trying to take care of them, because they're giving everything. And so,
and some.
And more, exactly.
Yeah.
So just, I'm glad you keep reminding them as well, because it's important. I think we do know it, but I don't know that we say it enough.
Yeah. Ladies, are we having anything else to add to this today? You were wonderful.
Final word. What do you want to say? What's your final word?
Oh, wow, man, my final word. Just find one thing, one simple thing, just something that you could do for yourself. Whether, like I said, if it's just 5 minutes with a couple hazelnut coffee and a little bit of music in the background, but find one simple thing that you could do for yourself. Like, call a friend, do something.
Yeah. I would say, you had mentioned before, intentional. Be intentional about whatever those moments are, however you find them, whatever it is that you do. Be intentional about that. I think that's so important in finding those moments whenever you can. So,
And I think I'm going to leave it with tell me more.
Ah.
Both as someone who supports care partners, tell me more about why this isn't working, and for someone who is trying to figure out ways to accept help, tell me more about what this might mean for me, and tell me more about how I can support you, or what you can do to support me. I think that's what I would leave it with.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you guys for joining us, Care Partners Forum. Feel free to reach out to us here at Dementia Alliance of North Carolina at 919-832-3732, or check us out on our website. I believe that's dementianc.org. And our Facebook page, our Instagram. We so appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you guys next month.
Videos on YouTube.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you do videos. Thank you. Videos on YouTube. Once again, thank you guys, and we will see you next month. And we will discuss caregiving and intimacy. Have an amazing day.